What's up, guys? This is Carter Thomas with Coin Mastery TV. Make sure you go get the PDF, which will automatically get you on the newsletter. You can go to coinmastery.com/invest. Click on the button, put your first name, email address. You'll get a PDF sent to you, and then you'll also get a newsletter sent to you. I think you'll find it helpful. Make sure you join us on a podcast, coinmastery.com/iTunes if you're on Apple, /Android. Take you to Google Play, Android, do a search for Coin Mastery. I'm working on how to make that a better experience, but that's what it is for now. Happy Friday, everybody. Today we are talking about, it's because it's September 1st, a whole new month. Got some pretty cool news today. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Bitcoin, right? What's next? It's going up, it's going down, what the heck is going on. Some things that are happening at Bittrex. We're starting to see a lot of interesting volume trending. I want to walk through Litecoin. I want to talk a little bit about the November fork. We're going to talk about the SEC regulation and how it impacts you with your potential ICOs that you're either involved with or you're looking at or that you already own. And then I want to show you a few kind of research strategies and potential trends on buying and all that good stuff. So by the end of this, you guys have a better idea of what your portfolio looks like, what decisions to make next. The entire goal of these daily videos, as always, is to help you guys make better decisions, to absolutely crush it on what I believe, the biggest financial revolution of our entire lifetime. So thank you for joining, and very exciting. Happy Labor Day for anybody in the United States, or Labor Day weekend. Bitcoin, this thing it's a machine. It really is unbelievable. And I think that I continue to be blown away by how much the biggest runner in this space can absorb so much money and continue to go up. So it's at 48.30. It's Friday at 11:40 a.m. on Pacific time. And it's at 48.30. And this is from what I can tell, and I talked to a few buddies who, two of which are in San Francisco in the private equity world, one in New York who's in a more aggressive private equity world / hedge fund world. And everyone seems to agree, I should say, that right now, this 48 to 48.50 block is it's really an inflection point. The thing that you guys should watch, and I think that this is something that we'll talk about. I mean, it seems like every time I get on these, I'm like, oh man, we should do 2 hours of something new. But the volume is the name of the game. The volume is the name of the game in almost everything in crypto right now. And we'll talk more about that next week, maybe this weekend if I can get some videos. But the volume, which is these bars, if you're listening on the podcast, it's typically on the bottom x-axis, right? It's the vertical bars. The volume often supports the price in specific ways. Usually if there's more buy volume, the price goes up. If there's more sell volume, it goes down. And then you look at the overall volume size, which is actually probably the best indicator of price and price movement in this market, right? Volume is a very, very good indicator. But the reason that you should care about this is as you are looking at Bitcoin prices, if you're looking on like CryptoWatch, or if you're looking even on Bittrex or whatever, I would encourage you to check out something like BFX data, because you can see, or Coinigy. I actually tried Coinigy the other day, which is cool. Hopefully I can start using that for my charts. It's almost too advanced for me right now, so I didn't want to embarrass myself. But on the bottom axis here, you can see that this volume, as the price is increased, you've seen these spikes and then it comes back down, and then you see it come down, but the price holds. What's really important with this particular price is that we need this volume to keep maintaining or increasing. What that means is that we need more buying and selling activity overall for this price to either stay at this 4,800 range or to get up to 5,000. That's the name of the game. And so I will be watching this. I hope you are watching this over the weekend. Watch this volume. And if we maintain the volume, you're going to see the price continue to do well. And if it goes up, you're going to see it go up. But if the volume starts to peter out and the price starts to dip, that may be a bearish signal. Now, it doesn't mean that we're going into a big fallout or anything, which I really want to start talking a little bit more about what to do when that happens. It's going to happen at some point. We'll discuss that. But keep your eye on the volume. This is the name of the game. It doesn't matter if it's Bitcoin. It doesn't matter if it's some number 300 coin. The reason it's better on this, though, is that there's so much volume, is that you can really see it pretty much in real time. So if you're trying to get a sense of what's going to come, what's going to happen, is it going to go up, is it going to go down, keep your eye on the sustained volume levels. That's the name of the game. If we can hold the volume, it's probably going to go up. I think 5,000 is going to be what they call a psychological level, which means that there's no other reason than just a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their head around the next phase. The same thing happened at 3, the same thing happened at 4,000, same thing's gonna happen at 5,000. If we get through that, all the charts are saying 5,400, give or take. If we can't keep the volume up, meaning there's not a lot of new money coming in, which, it's Labor Day weekend. Are people gonna keep buying in? I don't know. Then we may see it come down a little bit. But keep your eye on this. It's overall, this is just, how exciting is this? We're just watching. It's just so incredible. And yeah, it's going to come down at some point, but we know that. You guys are smart people. We're not, I don't think anybody is deluding themselves that this is probably growing too fast for its own good and it will pull back. But the next 3 years of this is that's what I'm really excited about. And I hope that's what you're really excited about too. So yeah, this is important. If it goes up or down right now, but my strategy doesn't really change. It's all about getting more Bitcoin. If it goes way down, I was actually talking to a buddy of mine yesterday, probably the best trader I know. And I talked to him, once every couple of days about what he would do, what's his strategy as this go down. Now he's pretty contrarian. So one of his strategies is, get a lot of Bitcoin Cash, which, you guys know me. I have a bunch of Bitcoin Cash. I actually might believe that. We'll talk about that. But at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is while the US dollar amounts may come down, the process of Bitcoin and altcoins going up and down against each other still remains. And there's still opportunity to buy low and sell high and accumulate more Bitcoin. Even if the whole thing is going down, like if Bitcoin is bringing the whole market down, you can still buy and sell altcoins against that. So I can tell you very loosely, as things start going down, there's going to be a lot of fear and panic, but there's also going to be a lot of opportunity to still make those scalp trades and get more Bitcoin. Might not be US dollar gains, but you'll get Bitcoin gains. So that over the next 3 years, when it goes big, you're just building your war chest, right? That's all that matters, is building that stockpile. Cool. So that's that, as it usually is. Let's open up Bittrex. There's a lot of things happening on Bittrex. And honestly, I could probably spend the rest of this video talking about Rise, Navcoin, Trig token, Metal, everything. Pivx, it's just been absolutely killing it. But I'm not going to, because the real, what do you call it? The truth of the matter is that nobody really knows the true reason why any of these are happening. Now with Monaco, that's a little bit of a different example because there's a clear news item there, that they weren't part of the Visa that caused the big decrease. With NEO, there was an article about the Red Pulse ICO not being allowed in China, which, by the way, I talked to my buddy who lives over there. I'm not sure that's entirely, I think it's more of a fear thing. Don't quote me on that, but but when you look at something like Trig token, when you start to see this, and you know how I feel about chasing candles, I think it's just a terrible strategy, but people do it. Some people make money, many get burned, who knows? there's a lot of speculation on why this happens. But at the end of the day, nobody really knows. And that's why I don't spend a lot of time on this, because it's not helpful for you in terms of making better decisions. Nobody knows why something like this goes big. Like, could be that there's rumors of the NRA partnering with them. It could be that this whale decided that he was going to do a coordinated pump of 7,000 Bitcoin. I mean, who knows what it is? And that's why I don't get into it. So that's just the only reason why I don't go down the list like a lot of other people do, because I don't know how that helps you make better decisions moving forward. All it does is makes you want to chase candles more, usually. So that's that. What I will say though, is that Litecoin has really just crushed it. And many of you, if you've been watching, you know that I like Litecoin a lot. I think Charlie Lee is a phenomenal person in terms of being a representative for crypto. And I think he's just, overall, everything I've seen from him has proven or shown me, led me to believe that he's a great guy. You know that 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was also on the fence about selling some Litecoin. And I did sell a little bit, not very much, but a little bit, because it wasn't competing with Bitcoin from a BTC return, right? So if you look back at June, it had this big run up, and then down through August, it actually wasn't beating Bitcoin in terms of if I had just bought and held Bitcoin when I had purchased all my Litecoin. And that was really bothering me because, as you know, all I care about is getting more Bitcoin. But now look at this. I mean, the US price is up to 89. That in itself is amazing. But the real story, and hopefully the one you guys are starting to see, is that the price against Bitcoin is coming back, meaning that the ROI is actually there, that this is starting to keep pace with the growth curve of Bitcoin. And that makes it a much more compelling and interesting, investment, right? And so I'm stoked on Litecoin. I like what these guys are doing. If you don't know what happened, it's because the Lightning network was finally put onto Litecoin's services. What that means is that it's way faster and way cheaper than ever before. And that hopefully moves Litecoin into the next phase that will allow it to be a real competitor with payment processors. Currently, as you guys all know, Bitcoin transaction fees are insane. It takes forever. It's not feasible. Lightning Network theoretically solves that problem. It's instant. It's very, very cheap. And it can be done. I think he said there's 500 million concurrent transactions can happen or something crazy. So this is a huge step for both Litecoin and for Bitcoin towards payment processing, right? SegWit will facilitate Lightning Network. So Litecoin is kind of a beta ground for Bitcoin. So now that this works, it bodes really well for Litecoin. And if it translates to Bitcoin, that's why this is big news. That's why you're seeing the big price increase. So you're seeing this big, big growth curve, both on the US dollar sign, but also against Bitcoin, which is a huge deal. And if this translates over to Bitcoin, one, it's probably going to dramatically increase Bitcoin's price because it'll have a new use case, which is payments, which right now is things like Bitcoin Cash, Ripple, Stellar Lumens are trying to do that. They're fast and all that. But if Bitcoin with Lightning Network can do that, it's a big deal. So Litecoin's been really great in terms of buying it. I mean, fundamentals, right? Great product, check. Great team. Charlie and the devs are very, very impressive, check. Is it on a dip? No. So I'd probably wait for it to come down on a dip. And as we always talked about, there's always a dip. It always happens. And just allow it to unfold. If you still feel the FOMO, take 10% of your budget and buy some just to relieve that emotion. If you want that checklist, you can sign up for the newsletter at coinmastery.com/invest. And I think in 2 or 3 days, I will email that. And it's a PDF that just has a checklist. I have this printed out somewhere. That every time I buy something, I go through it. It just gets you in the habit of doing that, not being emotional about it. So Litecoin's a great product. I think but it will follow the same fundamentals of markets. Even if it feels like it's going to go up to 500 straight and never stop and never take a break, it will. So keep that in mind. Let's see if there's anything else that was really worth talking about. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about this a little bit, but Stratus. So I own some Stratus, and some of you guys may have seen me post about this last night. So it's kind of hilarious that this is how it happened. The blog came out yesterday, and the CTO gave a developer update. And I talked briefly about this, was it last week? 2 weeks ago? Oh yeah, with OMG, right? How these are really important. By giving updates to your investors, it's a powerful thing for the price. And they set this out, and it's really impressive what they're trying to do with the wallet, which is supposed to be amazing, the identity, which is kind of like a civic competitor, side chains, which is kind of like ARC or BlockNet, which we talked about. So if they can pull all this off and build the platform, that's impressive. So I tweeted, I said, hey, if they can pull this off, that's killer, right? I mean, beyond the fact that I own it, that's a lot of challenge. But if they can do that, that's a serious platform. Then today they released that the Breeze wallet is going to be postponed. Now, anybody who owns Stratus knows that this is what we've been waiting for a very, very long time. And is it baked into the price? I don't think so. Maybe a little bit, but not. The timeline has really, in my opinion, negated that. But they're not gonna release it quite yet. And it is, as true developers, it's not perfect, all right? And they want it to be perfect. And I think that makes a lot of sense. The marketer, entrepreneur in me I'm like, just let the people tell you, like release everything, and then you find out what isn't working and then update it along the way. But I respect the developer mindset in this sense. But from a price standpoint, that's why you saw this big sell-off, is because I think it was a lot of frustration, and it was also a lot of disappointment. For you guys, remember the bigger picture, right? How many times have we seen big price drops that are based on emotion? Is Stratus is it really worth, this is close to $1 billion valuation now. And let's say this was, I don't know, ballpark, let's say it's 3%, 4%. Is a delay in this wallet really, worth, let's say $100 million, like a $40 million drop in market cap? Is that a real loss of value because it's going to be delayed maybe for a few weeks? I would probably say no. I would say this is just a bunch of people that are frustrated that they're not getting a fast return. They're sick of waiting around because they want to go buy Trig token and Navcoin that are just exploding, and they're sick of waiting for Stratus. And so to me, if they'd come out and said, we're not doing this anymore, it's off the table, we're starting from scratch, that is a fundamental shift in the business valuation. But if it said, hey, we got 2 bugs that are important to fix, it's going to be couple extra weeks. That, to me, as an investor, that is a very good buying opportunity. So, it's going up right now, right? You can watch it going up. So anytime you see emotion driving prices down, that's usually a very good sign to buy. And I'm not just saying that because I own it. I'm saying that because we've seen this story many, many times of bad news that doesn't necessarily mean that the business is worth less. It's just people are pissed off or something, or scared or whatever. And that's where the price drops. So kind of along the same lines with NEO, right? The Chinese ICOs or the Red Pulse ICO they're cracking down. What's that mean for NEO? There's a huge drop, Now, the key is nobody knows if that's true or not. Varying degrees of rumor versus truth in that. And so it's not quite as clear cut as this. But you always got to ask yourself, you look at the market cap of companies, you look at the drop, and especially when you know exactly what the reason is, and if it's highly emotionally driven, it's just like it's not worth $50 million less. That's crazy. And that's usually a good reason to buy something, especially when it's a very, very solid product with a good team and a lot of money, which is what Stratus has. So something to check out. Those are the for you as you look through Bittrex and as you look through Twitter and CoinDesk and Cointelegraph and Reddit or whatever, when you see emotional things driving prices down very quickly, fear or delays or whatever, and the fundamentals of the company have not changed, it's just that people feel differently, that is always the best time to get those swing trades. That's why, right? So yeah, that's always a fun one to go for. This is interesting news, and this is the beginning of the inevitable fear, uncertainty, and doubt, which the acronym for that is FUD. If you ever see FUD online, it's fear, uncertainty, and doubt. With November's SegWit 2X hard fork, this one is more controversial than the one that happened in August. What happened yesterday is that F2 Pool, which is a very large Bitcoin mining pool / company where they mine a lot of Bitcoins, they said that they are not going to support the SegWit 2X hard fork. There's a little bit of confusion about whether they had said they would before and now they're switching their mind, or if they had always said they're never going to. But the fact remains that this is a big deal. This is a big company that is saying, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to agree to this. Meaning, it's also from China, which conspiracy theorists, go to town. Meaning that there is the Bitcoin community is not fully on the same page by any means. After August, after that SegWit hard fork went, I think there was a feeling of, okay, we're on the same page here. Let's just get to work and go to the moon. And what this is telling me is that, in fact, there's still a lot of confusion or disagreement within this community. And that uncertainty plays a big role in price for a variety of reasons. And so I don't think that this is necessarily going to change the price anytime soon, but I do think that as we get closer to November, and if we see more miners start to pull out, we'll see some changes in the Bitcoin price as it relates to this. More importantly, what's going to happen? Does this help Bitcoin Cash? Does it hurt Bitcoin Cash? Does it help Bitcoin? Does it hurt Bitcoin? That's what you really want to notice. It's not necessarily he's pulling out of SegWit 2.x. It's, well, what are they going to do next, right? Like what's the behavior? And one thing I've talked about before that I think is just everything in research, especially in behavioral research and market research, it doesn't matter what people say, it's what they do. And this is a good example where he said, okay, well, we're not doing the SegWit 2x. That's not what I care about. What I care about is, okay, but what are you going to do? And even if he doesn't say it, following the path, right? Keeping that wormhole open so that you can eventually see, well, is he getting friendly about Bitcoin Cash? Is he talking about Bitcoin Cash? Is he trying to find a way to do it in Bitcoin? And what's going to happen next? Because talk is cheap, especially when there's this much money involved. It's always about what do the people do? What is the action that they take? And just follow the actions. Now, I saw a comment, someone asking if I was drinking moonshine. It's not moonshine. Maybe one Friday. It probably should be moonshine. It's just water. But this, I don't know. So ProStar was an ICO. I actually don't know ProStar. I haven't really looked into what it looked like from a credibility standpoint. But ProStar was an ICO that was shut down by the SEC in the United States. That's the Securities and Exchange Commission. They regulate stocks and securities and all that. They were shut down, and they released a statement. I don't know if it's in this article. I saw it on Twitter where it wasn't like, hey, you're a scam, refund everybody's money, and then they just disappeared. It was, ProStar said, hey, look, we've been contacted. We're actively just going to refund everybody's money. We don't want any trouble. Let's get out of here. This isn't going to work. We're too small to fight this, or whatever it may be. This is the first official ICO that the SEC has contacted directly and said, you should probably shut this down. In their original statement, the SEC said they are more interested in shutting down exchanges, which is why, as you know, I think decentralized exchanges are a very big deal. That's why I'm accumulating ZRX, which actually had a nice little pop yesterday, but that's a different conversation. This is the first time the SEC came out to a particular ICO and said, listen, we've been watching you individually and you need to refund the money. Now, it's great that they refunded the money because that keeps the Ether in the system. It keeps the prices pretty stable. Nobody has any idea if this is going to continue. It may just be another warning signal where they're like, hey, shots fired, or shots across the bow, whatever. Take notice. But we have to prepare for what we would do, you and I. What are we going to do if the SEC comes after an ICO you put money into? I'm not trying to spread any fear or anything. It's just, you got to be smart about this. I think that they're just doing this. It's a very small ICO. I think they raised like $50 grand or something. Yeah, they raised $50,000, so it wasn't a big deal, but they knew that this news would get out very quickly. I think the SEC does not want to have to go around and police everybody. I think that they want to shut down individual things that get the word out to slow it all down so they can figure out what they're doing. So I don't think there's an immediate threat, but I do think that this is something that you do want to keep in mind as you move forward. What does that exactly mean? To me, what I'm going to do, I can't tell you what to do, but what I would do, or what I am going to do, is move more of my holdings over to the coins that I know will not be regulated by this. And Bitcoin is one. Monero most likely is one because I don't have an ICO per se. Ethereum is an ICO, right? That's a token, but it's big enough where I don't think that it's necessarily at risk mostly because Coinbase is building their business on Ethereum, and Coinbase, the number one thing they always talk about is regulation, especially when they look in terms of growth threats. It's regulation. So if they're building their future on Ethereum, they are definitely talking to the SEC and the IRS. So I think Ethereum's okay from a regulatory standpoint, but the ICOs on Ethereum may be a threat. I think Litecoin's fine for the same reason with Coinbase. And looking at my portfolio, and yes, I'm obviously still going to keep all my altcoins, but looking at the profit and loss statements and making sure that all the coins that I own are just based on profits. Right, so all the ZRX, all the Civic. I'll talk more about my overall portfolio, but I'm looking at everything and saying, there's still initial principal dollars tied up in these altcoins. I should move that back into Bitcoin so that all my altcoins are truly just free tokens that are just riding as a preventative measure. Will that mean I miss out on potential big gains? Maybe, but I'm still very bullish on the 4 I just talked about. So I'm not too concerned about that. Does that protect me more from this kind of regulation than anything else? Absolutely. Right? So that's really what my plan is taking certain altcoins that I own a lot of, and making sure that the amount that I own is actually just profit at this point. Everything else is back into the main 4 that I own that are not going to be targeted by this particular regulatory whatever, and go from there. Now you can absolutely do whatever you want to do, and I may wake up in 2 years and be like, that was the dumbest thing I've ever done. But I do know that I will sleep better at night knowing that if some token has a huge price drop, that is just profit, that I didn't. That to me will allow me to make more money every single day than think about, oh man, I missed out on an extra $50,000 or whatever it turns into. So that's that. So keep this in mind. Obviously, I'll tweet about this as much as I can, and yeah, I think it's just gonna. I think it's not gonna be a huge deal until one of the big ICOs totally rips off a lot of people. I think that's when you're gonna see the hammer come down. But until then, just start to make a plan. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is this. You may have seen this if you are on Binance or own Binance or whatever. You can go to binance.com/vote.html. And this is a big Chinese exchange. And what they're doing right now is allowing people to vote for what coin they should add to their exchange. As a market guy, especially, I studied sociology and economics in college. I didn't really study a lot, but that's what I took because I'm always was fascinated. But I look at something like this, and this has nothing to do with what coin should go on. This is just how, let's ballpark that. Let's say it's 10,000 people voted. This is 10,000 votes on what people own and what they want to see get a huge price increase. So I think the biggest one here is Bitcoins, which we've mentioned a few times. It's a portfolio management token, kind of like an index fund. I've looked into it. I'm not totally sold. I also don't like that. I think a couple people have been promoting this like crazy, which always makes it makes the value hard to gauge, right? Like, where's the volume really going? How much of that valuation is real and how much of it is just inflated? But when you look through this vote scorecard, it's fascinating to me because I think that if you would put this up last week or if you put this up next week, this vote count will be completely different. And so what it means is that there's a lot of people that are trying not to get this necessarily listed or it's good for the exchange or whatever else, is that this many people own this many coins, or this is the number of people that are incentivized for these coins to go up. And think about the kind of person that's going to go and actually vote on these exchanges. It's probably not a lot of whales, right? Like they're not too concerned about this. It's probably people that it would be a they are dying for their coin to have a 50 to 80% jump. We all want that, but you know what I'm talking about. Like the people that they want to wake up and see they dream of getting rich really quickly. And that's part of crypto. There's nothing wrong with that. I feel like that many times, like all the time. But you see what I'm saying? It's more of it's an emotionally driven, hey, I bought some of this and I know if I vote on Binance, it's going to drive my coin up. And so I look at this and it makes me wonder how much of this particular volume and price that I've seen on things like Verge or Bitquents or Waves and Strats have been around for a long time, so I'm not too worried. But maybe even OMG, even though I really like it. But I guess Virgin and Bitquents are probably the big two. How much of that price is really coming from people that totally believe in the product, that totally believe in the valuation, that totally understand and want the company and the product to do well, versus people that just own it because they bought some and they just want the price to go up? Now that's part of markets, it's part of economics, but it makes it very volatile. It makes it very dangerous in many ways to think that certain valuations are more important than others. So I love stuff like this. I love polls. I love data when people can vote on stuff, because it's such a good indicator of what people's incentives really are. Maybe I'm way off on this. I don't know. But I think that it's worth looking at something like this. It's worth looking at polls, that you see on Twitter, not necessarily mine, just other people's. And because people that are incentivized are going to go out of the way to vote on this. People that are like, if someone owned 600,000 metal, they wanted to get on Binance, but they want the product to do well, right? Like they're way more incentivized. They can't flip 600,000 shares tomorrow. They want it to go way up for years to come. So just one of those kind of interesting things to think about. All right, great. Well, another week coming and gone. I will give you guys a quick update on the Syndicate stuff. It's been an awesome week. I've talked to a lot of people, and here's the bottom line on the Syndicate as of now. And I'll send an formalized email with this. It's a work in progress. The good news is I have access to a lot of really good deals. Not necessarily the popular ICOs, but many like very early ICOs, like big discounts, that some of which are pretty good, some of which are like, I'm not totally sold on, but some of which I could see getting behind. So the deals are there. The other good news is we have a very large community of people with a lot of buying power, like a very large amount of buying power, so we can get some even better deals. And I found a few good companies that can help with a third-party escrow, not escrow, it's smart contracts, but it acts like escrow, that have said, hey, do you want to use our product in beta? It should be ready in a few weeks for our alpha, which would make it really nice, because then you guys it would all be done on the blockchain and totally trusted. Everything is a smart contract. Everything's open source. So it's trustless, right? You don't need to worry about where your money is going before and after. So that's all the good news. So very good on that front. The challenges that I'm running into, as you can imagine, are regulatory. And because this is people do group buys all the time on the side, friends and family, private Telegram groups, whatever. That's not necessarily by the book. And I don't care, right? I'm not a rule guy, or like I'm not trying to like tattletale. But when you have a very large audience and when you're potentially moving a very large amount of money, you do need to play by the rules. And so the regulations are pretty gray. And it means that it's hard for me to, as a US citizen with a US company, to be able to facilitate any sort of financial investment, even if I'm not promoting anything. It's not my ICO. It can get very dicey. So I'm trying to figure out a way where you guys can interact with a company that will facilitate deals into potential ICOs that I don't necessarily recommend. I just kind of offer them and say, hey, if you want to do this, and you can go through that, and then I work with that company as like a consultant or something, because that will allow the regulation of all this to be above the water, which it has to be. And I'm definitely going to follow the rules as much as I can, from hiring lawyers and talking to fund managers. I'm going to do everything I can to be within the right of the US government. But I think there's a way for you guys to work with a company offshore, and then I can kind of advise that company, right? And I connect you with them, and then it goes from there. But I am working on it. It's just one of these things where I want to make sure you guys are safe. I want to make sure I'm safe. And I want to make sure that we all make a lot of money. We can sleep well at night. So I'll definitely send you guys more info as it comes. And it's an exciting time. I'm stoked about this. So have a terrific weekend if I don't talk to you. I'll see you on Monday. And if you haven't already, make sure that you share this with your friend. If you're in a Facebook group, share the video and tell everyone to go and subscribe. I think we're about to hit 20,000 subscribers, which is insane. And I'm super grateful. Thank you guys so much for everything. I'll see you next time. Peace out.